But like, is this supposed to look like that? The answer is no. No, it's not. Hey, welcome or welcome back. I'm Tamara. This is another episode of my knitting podcast. So I show my recent projects. What are some of the things that I finished? What are some of the things that I'm working on? Today's episode, I don't know, I've got some flops in here. I actually wasn't planning on filming a knitting podcast this week, but I thought I should like take a moment and show you how badly I screwed up one of my projects before I frog it. So I wanted to like document this point in time. And then I have a couple of finished objects, a couple of them that I'm happy with, one that I'm like very ambivalent about, one that I think was a bust. So we got a real mix today. I'll take my sweater off for a sec so you can see it better, but I've got my Thine Own top on in tube top mode as a way of trying to like manifest some warmer weather. Okay, my phrasing of that just made me think about like when I wear it with straps. These are the detachable straps. I should definitely call it like sport mode. So the current status with this top is that I'm hoping to launch it at the end of May. So let me show you, I'll start with my finished objects. So the first one that I have finished is another version of my Thine Own top. This one is in white. This one has some short row bust shaping and vertical bust darts just below the bust. And I did this one with Barocco Renew yarn. I think I showed it in progress at one point. And it has little detachable straps that have picot edging. I stole the ribbon off of this one to use on this one. I need to buy more ribbons, which makes me feel so like Jane Austen character. I feel like they're always just like going ribbon shopping. I never related to that, but now I'm like, oh, a ribbon can make an outfit. So I need to do a little Bennett sister cosplaying and go out ribbon shopping. This one I am pretty happy with. I ended up weaving a little bit of elastic edging along the very top of the band, which I haven't done on this one yet. And it was super easy to do, and I feel like it just gives a little bit extra security. I really like this yarn, the Barocco Renew. It's recycled wool, viscose, nylon, and a tiny bit of cashmere, but it feels really nice. It feels like it has like the springiness of wool, but maybe a little bit of the drapiness. I don't know. It doesn't really have a sheen to it either, which sometimes you get with viscose yarn. I think, I don't know. I confuse viscose and rayon sometimes. I'll add a little comment when editing this. I should look it up. Yeah, I'm really happy with this one. I wasn't really, honestly, I didn't really feel like knitting a third version, but I feel like the white gives it a different vibe than the black one did. I think I still prefer the black. Like I just love wearing black, if you can't tell. And like all these projects, so many projects I made this year are black, but the white is like very sweet and girly, and I think it will give another vibe to my wardrobe. And yeah, I definitely wanted to like knit along with my tester. So the person who finished testing this version again is Star Girl Knits on Instagram, and I don't know if I have this kinship with her because we both have Star in our username. She's amazing. She's given me so much helpful feedback. She's now made 3 versions of this top. I don't know if anyone is ever running a test knit and Star Girl Knits applies, like do yourself a favor and please choose her. She's amazing. Yeah, so that's the situation with that one. Happy with it. The end. Next, I'll show you a tank that I finished. So this one, I think I had maybe shown you when it was still a work in progress. It's using Cascade Anchor Bay yarn. And here's the deal with this one. So it's a tank. It's like from the full bust you knit up, and then you pick up the provisional cast on, you knit down. It has a folded hem, it has I-cord edging, and then it has these yarn over holes all along the straps, like front and back, that my original vision was like you can lace a ribbon through so that it gives kind of like a corset detail. But for some reason, I just feel ambivalent about this project. So when I first started, the yarn was kind of bothering my skin for some reason. I do have really sensitive skin, and I've had issues with some other yarns in the past too that like no one else seems to have a problem with. So I was feeling really itchy when I would try this one on, and so that kind of like put a damper on the project for me, but I was like, no, I should really finish it because I like the idea of making a pattern. But then now that I finished it, I'm like, I don't know, is this cute? Would people even want a pattern for this? I'm just in this weird period of like self-doubt right now, I think, where I don't know, sometimes I feel like I have a lot of conviction in the things that I'm designing and everything's working out, and I just feel like tons of positive momentum. And I'm just in one of those periods right now where I'm not feeling that way. And so I feel like my mindset is like causing me to question a lot of the things that I'm making, even if I think if my mood were just different, I would be feeling really good about them. So that's why I feel a little bit unsure and vulnerable about this design. So I don't know, I would love to hear what people think about it. I will try it on to show you what the deal is. This was kind of the idea. These are actually like slightly different ribbons. I like can't find the rest of my ribbon spools. Anyway, I'm trying not to cut it because I'm using this ribbon for something else, but this is the general idea, that you like lace a ribbon through the holes and then it goes down the back of the strap too. But I don't know, I feel like I like can't tell if I like this or not. Like I can't tell if it missed the mark. I don't know if I wish that the ribbons here were like shorter and a little tiny bow, or if they should be long. Like, I don't really know. I feel like I sort of lost the creative vision on this one. My very first idea for this top was that the strap would be actually like two straps that aren't attached, so you'd like see skin in between the ribbon. And I didn't go with that because I thought like it'd be nice to be able to wear a bra with it and not have the bra strap like disrupting the flow of the ribbons crossing over each other. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what I think about this one. I'll show you like standing up. And again, like I would cut this ribbon shorter, but that is the deal with this. It does have like shaping for the bust and the hips along the side, but yeah, I don't know. Tell me what you think about this top. Like, should I write up a pattern for it? I don't really know. I mean, I feel like the basic silhouette of the top is like nice enough. I kind of like the wide straps and like a slightly squared off neckline. I don't know. This whole podcast episode is gonna be me saying, I don't know. I'm feeling a little like not 100% on some of my projects right now. I'm just kind of in a funk. So I will say, like, it feels a lot more comfortable on my skin now that I've blocked it. Originally, for some reason, every time I put it on to try it on, it just kind of bothered me. So I'm happy that I feel like it blocked out to be a little bit softer, but that's the deal with this one. Like, tell me what you think about it. And here it is with the ribbon removed. Like, you could picture this just being like not having the holes and just being a plain strap, in which case it's really just kind of like a basic tank. I just wanted to keep it like kind of plain as a contrast to this ribbon. So you could also, I guess, like if you knew what ribbon color you wanted to use, you could do the I-cord edging in the same color. Maybe that would like bring the elements in together more. Yeah, I don't really know. Okay, so that's this one. And like maybe a different color would be cute for the ribbons. I also had experimented with putting some I-cord ribbons in this like light blue color, but I kind of felt like the drapiness of the ribbon was needed here or something. I don't know, I wasn't quite happy with the I-cord. I also have this other ribbon that I got from a yarn store in Brooklyn. Maybe that could be an option, but I'm just avoiding cutting it until I know exactly what I want to do with this ribbon because I can't just get more at the local store. So yeah, that's this one. And in my head, I had been calling this one the Odette tank because I don't know, I've been feeling very inspired by like ballet and Swan Lake in particular this year. I know that, and I've like talked about this in my 2023 spring trends video, but there's been a lot of like ribbons and bows and kind of girly details like that in fashion in general this year. I've always been inspired by like ballet aesthetic, I guess. I remember when I was in college, sometimes you can get a little overwhelmed shopping and like hard to know if you're buying something because it's an impulse purchase or like, will you actually wear it? And something that I used to say to myself, I'd be like, could I picture a ballerina wearing this? If yes, then maybe this is like, will fit into my dream aesthetic wardrobe, and if not, then maybe I'm just being swayed by trends or something else. Like for some reason, this just always resonated with me. I think it's kind of like a combination of elegance and girliness. I don't really even know, but anyway, so I think that's why I've been really like creatively inspired lately, and I've been doing a lot of knits that have these sort of like ribbon elements to them. So it kind of fits into this aesthetic. And yeah, so in my head, I was calling this the Odette tank top because it made me think of the white swan. For some reason, I think the corset, but it's like a little bit demure because it's like a very simple tank otherwise, and it's actually gives you relatively good coverage compared to some of the other tanks that I've made. So that was sort of the thought in my head for naming this one. But I'll just talk about this next one very briefly. So this is a tank that I just posted a design with me vlog for. It has sort of like a halter neckline of sorts. I really don't know what to call this, but it has like a V in the front and it goes through a hole in the fabric. And you can see I added some elastic through the straps. The straps are rib, but like rib stretches a lot this way, but I really liked how the ribbing looked. So I added some elastic thread so that it just kind of keeps things in place so that the straps don't like stretch out over the day as you wear them. It keeps things a little bit more snug. And then the rest of the body is pretty straightforward. I had originally tried to make this reversible, but I think that that's not gonna work out with other sizes. I was a little bit unhappy with some of the fit of that, but check out my Design With Me vlog if you're interested to like hear more about the inspiration and like the process of making it, etc. But this is in Wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton in the color True Blood Red. I am really happy with this color choice. I think that this is something that I'm gonna wanna wear a lot this summer, and I've actually already worn it like, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times, and I just finished it a couple weeks ago, so that's pretty great. Okay, and now we enter my like struggle zone. So this first one is a tube top that I made this with some yarn that I picked up on a recent trip to New York. I went to the yarn store Brooklyn General, which was amazing. They had so many like amazing, beautiful yarns of all different fibers. This one is actually a California brand, I think from Santa Cruz, called Sea Change Fibers. And it's 85% silk, sorry, 85% merino, 15% silk in a sport weight. It's called Ecola Sport. And this colorway is called Odile, which is actually the name of the black swan in Swan Lake. So I think I took that as a sign a little bit. And I was kind of thinking about this top in contrast to the corset strap one at the top, that it's like a little bit darker, it's a little less polished because it has this variegated colorway to it. And then I also got this ribbon to wear with it. And the idea for this top is that it has a folded hem on the top and the bottom, and it's like a tube top that ties along the side with a corset. And I haven't added yet. I was going to add a folded hem along both of the edges here with yarn overholes so that you have like a little bit more. I didn't want to just lace it like through the stitches themselves. I wanted it to feel a little sturdier. But, and then I had some short row bust darts for the top so that the top can like come up a little bit higher than the back. But the problem with this one, so I made this pretty much all on the train back from New York. So funny, there's like a train horn right as I say train. I swear that's not like special effects that I had. So it was a little bit tough to try on as I went. I did make a different one, a different top on the train too, but that one I felt like pretty confident about the calculations. I just kind of had to do quick fit checks. This one was a little bit harder because I was sort of holding it up, wrapping it around myself. And so basically I just made it too big. So there's a little bit too much fabric. And part of that, I think, so I made it based off of my waist measurement because I wanted it to like have a gap when I wore it along the side that the ribbon would lace through. But what I didn't really think about was the fact that since this is like a stretchy yarn, I needed to account for some negative ease. So it's basically too big, and that leads to some bunching. The folded hem on top sort of folds over and just looks sloppy, and then there's some bunching on the waist that I wasn't very happy with. I'll try this one on and show you like what the vision was. But basically now I'm kind of at like an impasse with this one because I feel a little bit like, I don't know, I was very creatively inspired by it, but like I said, I feel like I'm in a little bit of a funk right now, so I can't decide if this is like a cute idea that I should see through or if I should just kind of like sit on the yarn and wait for another project that's exciting about it. I also don't really feel like this one will be, I don't know, I got like unsure of whether or not this would make sense as a pattern to you, like whether anyone would want it. And then also, I don't know, trying to think through like what the measurements and calculations should be for different sizes. I'm just in like a self-doubt era right now, I think, basically. Let me show you what it looks like on, I guess, so you can kind of get an idea. So here's the general idea of this piece. It's a tube top, and then you have this corset close on the side. And I really wanted the idea to be that I should have done the ribbon a little bit lower, but that you basically lace it to your waist, and then you let it come open at your waist. And I actually wanted to make it a little bit longer, so then you have this sort of cool asymmetrical hem because this is opening up, like splitting to let your hip come through. But yeah, so that's the idea, but you can see it's just too loose. Like this upper hem is way too loose. which will make it not stay up very well. And it just feels like there's kind of excess fabric because I could have done negative ease here to have it just be a little bit tighter. And it also ends up bunching along the waist here. So I can't decide if I should have done some waist decreases. I really kind of just like the idea of this being a very simple rectangle with a little bit of bust, short row bust darts for the bust. So yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't know. So yeah, tell me what you think about this one. Should I try to rework it? I mean, it is kind of like a nice, relatively mindless process if you get the numbers right for the cast on. You just do the bust dart shaping and then you're just knitting a rectangle. So yeah, that's the deal with this one. Okay, so this next one, I can't even try it on to show you because I did the cast off along the bottom so tight that I can like barely get it on and off. I was trying it on the other night and my boyfriend actually from the other room was like, what's going on? Are you okay in there? Because I was like, probably grunting, trying to get out of this, like had visions in my head of like needing to cut it off of me. I don't know. Have any of you ever had that experience in like a fitting room in a store where you try something on and like you somehow get into it and then you go to get out and you're like maneuvering it? It's usually, I mean, I know I have kind of broad shoulders, but it's usually like trying to get it over my shoulders. And I swear I have almost like needed to call for help from a fitting room before. And you finally get out and you've like maybe like pulled a muscle and are like sweating. Just me. That is what this one feels like to me right now. Top has basically been an abandoned work in progress for like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months at this point. So I started it probably in like October or November of last year. So my original inspiration for this top was a dress that I had bought from the brand Breckenbridge, which I love the silhouette of this dress. I don't recommend this brand in general because honestly the construction is so subpar for how expensive the clothes are. I got mine on sale, but even so, I'm like very disappointed by the quality of, there's like a lot of rippling along the seams and stuff, but I love the fit and overall aesthetic of the dress. So it has this panel along the front and it comes with a ribbon that's basically like attached on both sides of the bottom of that front panel. And then you cinch the ribbon and it like pulls in this kind of almost like folded up V shape. So that was my inspiration for this top. It's using Knit Picks Luminance lace. And you can see it has this like bust panel. And basically my idea was to just put a ribbon through the stitches at the bottom of the bust. So this is what I'm talking about. So basically you put a ribbon through the center of the bust and then tie it and it cinches. So I wanted the bust section to be a little bit bigger than it needed to be. And then I kind of played around with like folding up the fabric and I found that I liked the way it folded when it was folded sideways versus vertically along my swatch. So that led me to this construction where you knit the bust lengthwise and then you pick up stitches for the bottom for like the body and knit down. And I'm really happy with that. I also think it's kind of nice because it provides this really pretty edge. And the stitches that you pick up for the body are kind of like inset a little bit from the stitches for the bust. So it kind of adds a little bit of volume to your bust in a way. And I also think that maybe if you have a larger bust, having that like seam there is kind of nice for support. So I was thinking that this would probably be like a made to measure pattern. And like I said, it's in Knit Picks Luminance lace. And I'm using 3 strands, so I feel like that will probably be not very popular. So that kind of like put the brakes on this for me for a little bit. I also had a really hard time winding this yarn up into balls. I talked about it in one of my other knitting podcasts, but there was like static electricity and things would slip off the ball and it just became like a huge headache. And especially since I was holding it triple, that became very stressful. So I had barely enough yarn to finish this top. And so part of me putting it aside for so long was that I was just kind of avoiding having to face like figuring out if I had enough yarn to finish. I do have enough yarn to finish. But like truly just barely. This is the closest like yarn chicken that I've ever played before. But I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly what bind off to use for the bottom because the bottom does, you know, stockinette rolls. And so I wanted to do like a finished, I wanted to do like a folded hem along the bottom so that it looks like, I don't know, relatively seamless and simple and doesn't roll too much. but the problem is I cast it off, I think, too tightly. I think I need to do a stretchier cast off. And then I think I need to do somehow when I seam that folded edge closed, I think I need to do it with more give, because I just like whip stitched it to the bottom. But yeah, so that cast off is just way too tight, but now I'm like procrastinating on doing that because I have to undo the entire whip stitch and then undo the cast off, and yeah. But I will say, I am otherwise very happy with this top, and this yarn, the luminance, it's 100% silk. It's definitely silkier and has a little bit more sheen than some of the other silk that I've tried now from Knitting for Olive. It does, the top part is getting a little bit furry. I guess it's a little hard to see, but it does have a little bit of fuzz on it. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I think because it's sort of like more loosely spun, here's the individual threads, if that helps. I think because it's more loosely spun, it's like a little bit easier to get kind of a fuzz on it. So that's a little bit disappointing, but honestly, this top feels so luxurious on your skin. Like, it just feels really good, and it feels so good to knit with. But the gauge of this, I think, would be sort of like a sport or DK weight. So I hope that the yarn that I use doesn't like preclude other people from being interested in knitting it, even if you have to swap out the yarn for like a different DK or sport weight yarn. So I don't know, I do like the drapiness of it for the bust section. I am happy with this neckline as I originally intended to wear it, but I also think it looks really nice without the ribbon cinching it. It's like a kind of a different, simpler look. This kind of gives me like a 90s minimalism vibe a little bit. I realized after the fact, this, when you wear it this way, it does look kind of similar to one of Tiff Knit's tank tops. I think hers is actually done in the reverse, where you like knit the bottom lengthwise and then you pick up and knit the bust. They're like opposite, but that was a little bit of like unintended convergent evolution. But yeah, I do think it's pretty with the cinch and without the cinch. So, and mine ended up having kind of a lower scoop back. That was honestly kind of unintentional, but I think the lower scoop back is really pretty, but I don't think it would be hard to make it with a less scoop back. So saving the worst disaster for last. So let me show you the side before I screwed everything up. So I was making this top, and this is Knitting for Olive silk yarn in coal, I think is the black colorway. And I wanted it to have these like yarn over holes evenly spaced out. And my idea was that you could like lace a ribbon through and either wear it as like a corset, or you could like tie it in bows at a couple of different points. I originally wanted to do that idea in a cardigan. And then for some reason I was like, no, I want to do it in fingering weight silk. And I don't know, I just sort of fell out of love with this idea. I felt like, no, I really did want it as a cardigan and not as a top. And I also came up with a different idea for a fingering weight silk top, like basically this exact same construction, except without the holes and having a different finishing technique. And so I think I let my, I don't want to call it cockiness, a little bit of hubris here of being like, how hard could it be to just ladder down and remove all the yarn overs, and then I can just use this top as the other idea that I have and not have to redo everything. So that was my idea. And I thought, oh, there's like some holes along the back of the neck too, but I thought that is not very visible and small enough that I could just stitch them, like do some duplicate stitch over it to kind of close those holes up. I did that on one of my baguette bags. I was originally gonna have the baguette bag closed with a button, and then I changed my mind and I just duplicate stitched over the buttonhole, and you can't really tell. So I was getting a little cocky, I was getting a little confident. I was like, I don't have to frog things. I'm an expert now. And I was watching a movie with some friends, so I wasn't like really paying that close of attention. And what I didn't think about, so I thought to myself, okay, I always yarned over like 4 stitches from the edge. So I just need to undo the 2 stitches where I would do like a yarn over and then a knit 2 together. And I was like, I just need to undo the 2 stitches, 4 stitches from the edge the whole way down, and I'll undo all of the knit 2 together yarn over. And instead I'll just like ladder up all of those 2 knit stitches. What I didn't think about is the fact that it's a V-neck, and so I was constantly increasing along the neckline. So actually, like, it's not the same 2 stitches all the way, because I was adding new stitches as I went the whole way. So like, if you have a V-neck here and you're increasing, like, sure, along this edge, it's just these 2 stitches going all the way up, but along, like when you're up here on the V-neck, the 2 stitches here actually correspond to like stitches far in from the side down here. So I don't know if that makes any sense of what I'm explaining, but that's how I ended up with this. So this was me. I started laddering down the 2 stitches. So here's my like 4 stitches from the edge or on a little stitch holder here. And I was like, oh yeah, let me just undo those 2. And then I got to a point where I had made an increase and I was like, wait, I can't get to all the rest of the yarn overs from there. Let me undo the stitch to just adjacent to them too. And I just kept going. And I got to this and I was like, it's not that bad because I'll just like ladder up with my little crochet hook all the stitches again. But since there's such a huge gaping amount of yarn here, when I did start trying to ladder up those stitches again, I mean, this is so obvious in retrospect. I really just, I don't know what I did. I don't know why I did this. I was feeling a little destructive, clearly. I was able to ladder up some of the columns without the yarn overs, but it just looks awful. Like you can see I did 2 columns of knits here and they're just so loose and sloppy. And it's like, this will obviously be the most visible part of the garment. It's like right on your, it's like the thing that you will see when you wear it if someone's looking at you head on. So that was really silly. I think that if I could go back in time, I would have tried to do it differently, where I think I would have first started with dropping just the stitches that correspond to like the farthest back yarn over, and then like before you've made any increases, and then ladder those back up and then go one at a time, instead of like having this giant loose mass of yarn that just gets impossible to control tension with. That way you're only dropping down like a couple stitches at a time. So yeah, I don't know. At this point, like this is just a disaster. And I think even if I spent all the time to like painstakingly bring these back up, I think the tension will just look bad. So I think that I'm just gonna call it quits and pick up the stitches along the back before I joined under the arm. So I'll lose quite a bit of knitting. And then I'll just re-knit the 2 sides. Those don't go as slowly because it starts off fairly narrow. But yeah, that's my plan for reworking this one. And ultimately I wanna add a little bit of lace detailing along the neckline and the armholes and along the bottom, and have it closed with like little buttonholes or little hook and eye closures. I haven't decided, but I think that will be really pretty. I'm happy with it, but I don't know, I really dug myself into a hole with this one. So it's so funny because I actually I had forgotten after I joined not in the round, but after I joined the front and back together, I had forgotten to do a couple of the yarn over holes. And I ended up laddering down and adding them in. I followed a tutorial from Elizabeth Zimmerman where you basically just ladder down and then I like put 2 of the stitches over each other and those became the knit 2 together. And then I picked up the bar between 2 stitches and that became the yarn over. And that worked great. And so I think that gave me like a false sense of confidence of like tackling this. And it was kind of funny. Like I said, I was watching a movie with friends while we did it. And one of them looked at me and was like, hey, I don't really know anything about knitting, but like, is this supposed to look like that? It's like, the answer is no. No, it's not. And he was like, are you gonna be able to fix that? And at the time I was like, yeah, thinking like, I'm like ashamed to admit this, thinking that like before the end of the movie, it would all be done again. And I would be like, see, look. And then I realized what a terrible mistake I made. I also was like hunched over it and literally got back pain from it. So anyway, not worth it. Yeah, I think that in terms of like which project am I gonna try to fix next, I'll definitely try to just see this one through, as annoying as the cast off is. And then I think I will frog this one, maybe give it a little bit of a timeout just to let it, and I guess me, think about what I've done. And then come back to it because I do really want to wear the top that I have in my head. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious to see in the next one of these videos, what am I showing to you all, because I feel a little bit directionless, right? I think part of it is that I was doing a lot of knitting from my stash, I guess minus this yarn that I like influenced myself into buying. And I'm kind of running out of like yarn that I have very clear project ideas for, and so now I need to buy yarn, and then I always kind of like waffle about what yarn to actually end up buying before a project, so that kind of slows me down. So I think I definitely identified like I really need more cardigans in my wardrobe. Like I need more hand knit cardigans. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just go ahead and do this yarn over idea with more of a cardigan-y type yarn, and have that be sort of a quicker win, I guess. But yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. You're getting a look behind the scenes. Like you don't always feel 100% confident about everything that you're working on, so that's totally normal. Like, so you're kind of getting like a look behind the scenes a little bit of like, you don't always feel 100% confident about what you're working on, and that's totally normal. Like, I think people go through cycles of feeling like very, very clear, I know exactly what I'm doing. I mean, this is like true in life too. And then you go through cycles where you're like, what am I doing? Why did I like this? Do I like this still? Who am I? What is life? I don't know. Not to get that deep. It's just knitting. But yeah. So I'm hoping that I'm coming back to you next time being like, look at my amazing new XYZ that I like feel great about. And I guess I don't know why I'm discounting this. Like, I don't hate any of the things that I've made. I think that it's just when you have like a bunch of projects at once that you're feeling kind of ambivalent about or like unsure of. It like is bad timing when it's all happening at once. So anyway, I need to like think more about my white Thine Own that I made and my red halter top. I feel really good about those, so that's good at least. If you can hear, there's like a ton of sirens going right now. Maybe they're going to come throw me in jail for my knitting crimes is what's going on. So if you don't hear from me, you know why. Hopefully they let me post this first, so at least you know where I am. So thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope it was fun to see a little bit of my wins, a little bit of my L's on this particular video. Definitely had some highs and lows this week, but hopefully I'll come back with cuter tops than ever before, I guess, next time. And if you're a subscriber, thank you so much. And if you're not and you want to see more knitting videos, I also do kind of like pattern recommendations, things like that. Definitely subscribe and stay tuned for more. Also, always share all my projects on my Instagram, and I have a mailing list too, so those are in my description below if you're interested to see more. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.